All right, thank you for taking time out of your day to sit in on this IAESTE info session. We will go ahead and get started. For anyone you know who may be interested in viewing this material, I would invite them to take a look at our Facebook page, as I will share this on the Facebook page section, the recording, and I'll also send the recording out to all the attendees as well. Okay. So if you have any questions along the course of the presentation, please feel free to add those to the comment section in the chat section, or you can hold on to those at the end. I'll probably wait and try to answer them at the end either way. Okay, so welcome to this IAESTE presentation. As we get started, I'd like to first introduce you to our staff. On the far left, you'll see Nancy Ongstad, who serves as the Global Talent Development. She serves as Senior Director of Global Talent Development Programs, rather. And so underneath that, there are a couple of different programs that work with participants in developing skills. Most of those are there. Well, there are a combination of inbound and outbound programs. So if you're interested in anything else, please take a look at those as well. You'll see myself in the center. I serve as Program Officer at Cultural Vistas, and I also serve as an IAESTE National Secretary for the United States. And then on the far right, you will see Dan Ewert, who is the longest serving member of the IAESTE US Committee. He is actually now on the board of the international program, and he also serves as the Senior Vice President of Program Research and Partnerships Innovation at Cultural Vistas. Okay. So this is just a quick glance at the agenda for today. I definitely want to talk about kind of what the timeline looks like, what the differences in the application process from this year to previous years has been, and then ways to put together a successful application as well. So to start, we'll take a zoom out approach and to take a look at Cultural Vistas. So Cultural Vistas is a nonprofit organization that administers IAESTE, and it was founded in 1963. Is a nonprofit exchange organization promoting global understanding and collaboration amongst individuals and institutions. So there are a number of other programs underneath Cultural Vistas, as I mentioned previously, even more outside of the Global Talent Development Programs. And I'll mention a couple of those at the very end of this as well. So what is IAESTE? It's actually an acronym. It's funny because people pronounce it differently depending on what part of the world you're in. A lot of people pronounce it IAESTE. So it really just depends on the pronunciation. But it is the International Association for the Exchange of Students for Technical Experience. And this is a map that really helps you to kind of see how broad this network is. So we're pretty diverse all over the world. We're expanding more into sub-Saharan Africa as we speak. Botswana is one of our newest members, as is Uganda. And there is conversation amongst some other countries that have interest as well. And so you'll see we are all over South America, Asia, Europe, and in the Pacific as well. So IAESTE stands for the International Association for Exchange of Students for Technical Experience. Association, commonly known as IAESTE, is an association of national committees representing academics, industrial, and student interests. So we serve about 3,500 students, 3,000 employers, and 1,000 academic institutions through career-focused professional internships, social and intercultural reception programs, international networking, and other career and employee branding activities. And this takes place in about 85 countries worldwide. Okay, so what about IAESTE makes it stand out from other programs that have the internship or exchange placement program? One of the biggest factors is that these are majority paid internships. So I'd say about 99% of all the positions that you will see or come across when applying for positions will be paid. And they will all list what that pay is within the work offer. And so if they're not paid, you'll be able to see that also. So I'd say I may see maybe 2 to 3 positions every year that are unpaid. Now this has changed a bit since we've gone virtual, starting with COVID-19 and the need for more remote work. We did go to some remote internships with those due to tax regulations. those do have to be unpaid. So the great thing about that is it allows students who wouldn't necessarily be able to maybe make a trip overseas for training. It gives them an opportunity to get that training here at home in a remote position where they can potentially still work during the summer. But that's kind of the trade-off of the tax regulations. But and so after looking at the paid part, the in-country support is another thing. There's a lot of valuable support that IAESTE provides you. So there's in-country support and social activities provided by national offices and local committees. There is visa and work authorization assistance provided by IAESTE committees. So, you are applying for a position, you don't have to then go on Google and take a look to try to figure out what type of visa you need. Who do you have to, what services are you going to find in your local neighbor, in your local community to help you with that, or all the hard work that you may have to do to figure that out. You will have people on this side, being myself in IAESTE United States, and then people within the receiving country who will make sure that you are adequately prepared with the necessary documents and information so that you know what necessary steps you have to take. And then finally, IAESTE provides you with very good pre-departure and re-entry services. So on this side, we have a series of about 3 to 4 webinars that discuss things such as budgeting, entering a different culture, what to expect. And so these kind of get you thinking about what you're about to encounter so that you're able to put the best foot forward and that you don't have maybe as many surprises as you would have without attending these webinars. Okay, so why IAESTE? As I mentioned, it's career development. So this is a chance to work with leading organizations in your field. It gives you a chance for some really good professional experience, exploration. So you're able to expand your horizon by living, working, and learning in a new country and different culture. So I would mention that the official language for IAESTE is English. So while you're working, you will be working primarily within an English language. Some offers do state that there's a second language that's required, but you would explicitly see that on the offer. That's not all the offers or even the majority. It's really just a few that you'll see out there. But you get the opportunity outside of work to talk to other interns from different parts of the world, as well as local committees that are manned by students, volunteers. And so you have a chance to learn other languages or to work on maybe a language that you're learning in school right now, but then these social areas outside of the work as well. Then there's the part of global and intercultural skills. You can develop communication and interpersonal skills while making a global connection. And then finally, you are joining a very wide, vibrant alumni network full of leading STEM professionals across the world. We continue to grow every year as students go through the program. A number of the host companies are made up of IAESTE alumni. So it's really is a great an opportunity to like build your network and to learn from people who have kind of gone through the path that you're currently exploring. Okay, so where will I be interning? Generally, going on the outbound side, so people leaving the US, going to different countries, we typically see about 25 to 30 different countries represented each year. And these students may be going to places like Europe, Asia, and South America. South America tends to have a lot of positions. Countries like Brazil have a large number of positions in varying different fields. And so you'll see underneath that a couple of different types of companies. So you see private, university, research type positions as well. And so, as I mentioned, these are paid positions, and you will receive a stipend that will at least cover the cost of living while in country. So you may not be able to recoup all the fees that you paid, so you will be paying for like your flight, but at least your stipend will help you to cover things like your cost of living, housing, food, and those types of things, travel to and from work. So, we typically, as I said, students go to about 25 to 30 different countries a year. And in order to get the most out of this opportunity, we typically ask that you come in with the flexibility and open mind in order to, really get the most out of the opportunity. Okay, and here you see another list of some more of our previous placements on one side. And on the other side, you see some of our more cutting edge partners. Central Eastern Europe is really strong. They have some really strong local committees that are again manned by these student volunteers. So students that go to these countries tend to have really good opportunities to like network and kind of meet a lot of students who are doing things similar to them. And so again, these are countries like Czech Republic, Austria, Slovakia. They tend to have a lot of the machine learning and the in the IT or computer science type positions. Poland as well. But again, these are all over the place. But these are some of our more cutting edge partners, some that we work with the most. You'd see on this page. Okay. So what does the registration process or the nomination process rather look like? So the first thing a student has to do, let's say you're interested in applying, the first thing you must do this year, which is a departure from our previous process, is to register on the IAESTE Exchange platform. So you would go to the Exchange platform and you would set up a profile. You need to make sure to select the United States so that we can receive your application, review it, and then validate your profile. So students, once you've been validated, you are able to then go on to view positions and to apply for those as well. So students search and apply for open positions. Once you have found a position that you decide that you meet the requirements and are interested in that position, you will need to upload the required documents. So you'll upload those documents, and we are right now kind of tempering the number of positions you can apply for at the same time to 2, just because it requires, it's quite a process to review that process if you were going through like 5 positions at the same time. So the max you can apply for is 2 at the same time. United States will review each applicant's internship choices alongside with their applications. And then we will, of course, have an interview in which the interview will be weighted as well. 1 student is nominated for each position. Okay, so for the nomination period, students have been selected for the nomination will be informed via email. Once a student has accepted nomination, that is when their application is sent to the other country. So going back to this page or this field, all you've done is found the position, you've gone online, read about it, uploaded all the required documents. We'll get to those in a moment, what those actually look like. And then from there, you had an interview. We came back to you with the decision here. At this point, you have decided that you are okay with the terms of moving forward. You will pay the program fee. At that point, we will send your nomination documents over to the host country so they can be reviewed. So at this point, the host country will review your documents and share those to the employer who will review them. The host company will actually more than likely call you in for a second interview. And this will be where you will, within a week or so, you should have your final confirmation. I have seen a few companies that have like maybe 2 rounds of interviews, but typically it's like 1 round of interviews and you have your decision. So as I mentioned, once they make the decision, they'll inform us and we'll let you know through email. And then we'll let you know either through email or through the EP. And then finally, once you've been accepted, the host country will provide you with the as I mentioned, acceptance documents, which include your housing details, where your exact address is, where you will be staying. In most cases, in some cases, you will have to find the housing. That typically is kind of, it doesn't happen as much as when you're leaving the United States, but it can happen. If you are required to find your housing, you will see that listed on the work offer before you even apply. In those cases, you will still receive assistance from the host country as well to help you with that. And they'll also provide you with relevant visa and work guidance, permit guidance as well. Okay. So going back to the first step, which is to first register, this is what the IAESTE Exchange platform looks like. If you were to go on there, you would click the button here, which says register with us. And as I mentioned, you must remember to click United States in order to make sure that you are properly designated to the correct country. Okay, so what does it look like inside the EP? What am I looking at once I go in there and look for offers? So this is what it looks like. You can see here kind of a description, several columns of descriptions. So here you see there are a number of remote positions. This is in alphabetical order, so we're not able to really see kind of a wide variety, but you see 2 different countries. And you see here that there are some remote positions. Again, these will be unpaid positions, but they give you flexibility to continue to stay at home and maybe have a part-time job at the same time or something else. Those positions, remote positions, do not require the same amount of work. So typically we try to limit the amount of hours that students are working on remote positions to a max of 20 hours per week. And so that is something that will be discussed with us prior to you going through the process and signing on with the company, because we want to make sure that you are not, this is a remote position and it shouldn't be treated the same as the physical position where you're getting a lot more guidance and assistance in the process. So here you'll see in these different columns, these are remote, these are open. By open, we'll get to this in a moment. And here you'll see different committees. This is, these positions would take place with Bangladesh or Brazil. And then here you'll see the disciplines of who can apply for these positions. And here you'll see the number of weeks in the training period, completed years of study, and the deadline for nomination. So this is probably one of the really important parts, especially if we go to this digital process of you finding the position, applying, then us trying to interview you and going through the process. You really have to pay attention to this as, you have to have the documents uploaded. We have to see that you have submitted an application with enough time for us to nominate you well before the deadline. So it's really difficult, if the deadline is tomorrow and you submit an application today, it's really not possible for us to get in touch with you to set up an interview and then make a decision within a timely fashion. So try to think about that as you're applying for positions. And if you think it's really close, try to send us an email and maybe we can try to talk to see if you are a good fit and make a decision on an interview within that time frame, as long as you have the required documents to send in as well. Okay, so this is what the work offer looks like. If you were to have clicked on any of these, this is what it looks like. So you can see, again, general disciplines. This one talks about knowledge requirements. So for this position, the person must have CAD design skills, critical analysis, project management skills, and this gives you a general work description. And you see here is the work period and length. So the minimum work period is between 4 weeks, and then you see you have to start between December 1st of 2021 and March 31st of 2022. So you'll see a lot of offers like this that are kind of cool because they give you flexibility in which you are able to pick kind of anywhere in this range in which you would put those 4 weeks. It just has to be within this period. So you may see a position that says, you have to do 4 weeks between December 1st, 2021 and December 1st, 2022. So try to read these carefully and try to see, and if you have questions, let's say it doesn't really work out for your time frame, send us an email, because sometimes there are factors that won't allow us to move the date through the requirements. Sometimes these things are bound by university requirements. A lot of the housing actually takes place in college and university dorms. So sometimes they need those off seasons in order for you to be housed. And so they can't be as flexible, but just send us an email and we'll let you know whether that's the case or not. Okay, so this is our program timeline for summer placements. Our registration deadline was supposed to end December 1st. We decided to extend it. And so instead of the 1st, it will now actually end on the 17th, which is next Friday. So what you need to do in order to be registered is, of course, as I mentioned, one second. Okay, what you need to do in order to be registered is, of course, again, to go to the EP, and then I'll get and pay the subscription fee, which we'll get to in a second. But first, you'll need to register for the EP, and then the next thing that happens on our timeline is the IAESTE annual conference. So the typical, I guess, kind of timeline or functioning of IAESTE has happened around this annual conference. So at this conference, committees around the world have been job raising for positions in their countries all fall, and we convene in a different country every year and exchange these positions. From these positions, we come back and we share these positions with applicants from our countries. And so you'll see the positions, they will be positions that are only open for US registered IAESTE applicants. So from there, we'll share those with you and give you information on how to apply. Those will be made available for you by the first week of February. By mid-February, we will, so first week of February, we'll share those with you along with the directions of how to apply. You'll make your decisions, your selections. We will then have a series of interviews to make the decision of who will be nominated for those positions. Mid-February is when we hope to have the nomination process to begin. So that is when you will have the final chance to update your documents. We'll get to those documents again in a second, before they're sent to the host country to be shared with the host company. And then by April, you should have, you should have your acceptance, and we'll start the pre-departure process. So we try to start this process, the nomination process, as early in February as possible. There typically is about a 2 to 3 week lag on confirmation from employer on whether they're going to accept you from the position. Last year, it was a bit extended because of COVID and just unknown variables about opening up. So we'll have to monitor that this year to see what that looks like. But again, we try to get this out by February because we know that you are trying to have your summer planned out, and this is not the only thing, and it's really hard for you to try to continue to plan stuff, or continue to wait rather, as you go into March and April. So if we get it in by February, that gives us hopefully a decision made by early March for you. The other thing that happens, which is really cool in early March, is that, as I mentioned, all those positions that were exchanged here at the conference in January, any position that was not filled by the committees that they exchanged it with in February or during this period is now made available for the entire world to apply. So let's say you were not selected for a position in this nomination period, you then have an opportunity to take a look at those global offers that have been shared and are now in the platform. And those global offers, again, would look like this. You would just see open on the side of them, and that means that they are open for the entire world to apply for. And there are usually typically hundreds of these offers for you to take a look at, and they range in field. So again, I would encourage you, don't be discouraged if you're not able to make it through the first round, because there will be a lot more in March, and we will work with you to make sure that you have a number of opportunities to be nominated. Okay, so next I want to get into eligibility and program fees. So first, starting with the idea that this is a STEM program, so the majority of the positions are in STEM and architecture. However, over the past couple of years, the fastest rising field is business. And so it could be because of a lot of the hybrid careers or positions that are coming into like different STEM fields, but there are a large number of business fields. So if you have students or friends that may be interested who come from business backgrounds, they can apply. There are typically some poli-sci positions, but again, the majority are STEM and architecture. So you must be, you can be a sophomore first semester when applying, but you must be completing your second semester sophomore year by the time that you are going on to an internship. Recent grads can apply, graduate students can apply, PhD students can apply as well. So English language, again, is required as this is an English program. If you are an international student, you can also apply. There may be a requirement for you to share your English language skills test as well, just because of the language requirements of the program. Okay, and on the right, you see the program fees. As I mentioned, there is a subscription fee. So when you originally sign up on the EP, you will receive an exchange platform, you will receive an email, which will ask you to confirm interest. Once you confirm interest, you will receive this annual subscription fee, which must be paid before your profile is validated. As I mentioned earlier also, once you have confirmed your interest for a position and we have decided to nominate you for a position, you will then need to pay the program fee. That program fee is $11.50. That just goes towards the general admin cost for running the program. And then finally, there is an insurance fee of $65 per month. All participants are required to enroll in our insurance program unless you have a university mandated insurance. So some universities do have their own insurance that they require all students participating in international programming to enroll in. If that's the case, that's fine. We just need a letter from your university showing that that's the case, and we can waive that. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, with these year-round offers, those are the ones that will say Kobe, or they will say open, or they'll say Kobe over here. Those positions are published after September 15th, before the annual conference, as well as after the annual conference. The main difference is, again, that the employer will likely see multiple applications versus the ones that I mentioned that are shared and restricted to US applicants. For those, the employer is only going to see one application at a time. So, you know, there's a lot more opportunities for the year-round offers, but for the AC offers, it just gives you a little bit more of an opportunity to kind of have your application as the only one out there. Okay, so how does the exchange platform work? This is just to kind of reiterate some of the processes and steps. So you will need to submit required documents for the position of interest once you've been validated. I would maybe recommend, unless you plan on applying for something between now and the end of the year, to maybe wait until January to do that so that your enrollment certificate is up to date. So first you have to fill in all available fields on the exchange platform. You can then upload the rest of the documents. Those documents include an official transcript, proof of enrollment, which must be an official copy, course list, cover letter, a resume. Some students like to include recommendation letters. They may or may not be required for each position, but it could be a good idea to include those anyway. When you submit your nomination, we will verify. So we'll reach out to you, of course, to set up the interview. So this is just to share our refund policy. Students who are nominated and not accepted and do not wish to continue will receive a refund of $650. $500 will be kept as admin costs. So let's say you were nominated for a position in Sweden and you were not accepted. There's a new feature on the EP, which was unveiled last year rather, called the talent pool, global talent pool. So what happens when you're rejected for any position is that your name and profile goes into this new pool in which host countries and companies can take a look at you to see if you're a good fit for their position. So the cool thing about this is now other people are looking at you to see if you fit for their country and positions and such, and you're able to continue to look at global offers also. So we're really happy about this feature, as we believe that it gives you, more than enough opportunities to continue to seek out other opportunities, and it kind of takes some of the weight off of you if you've already gone through one cycle as well. Okay, and so what makes a strong application? So the first thing is, of course, to complete the exchange platform. Make sure that you include your dates of availability. Experience in the field that you would like to complete your internship in is always readily accepted. Or try to talk up relevant coursework. Whatever you've done is relevant coursework or previous experience, whether internship, research projects, or such. Try to leverage that within your application. Those are things that they want to see. So we definitely, again, encourage flexibility and open mind as it comes to the host country, the type of company, and the time frame. One of the things that we're noticing, of course, I'm sure you're noticing as well, is that innovation is happening all around the world right now in places that we don't necessarily typically associated with always. So there are tech hubs popping up in Ghana, Nigeria. We have students that have recently participated in programs in Ghana who were able to see some of those things and were able to do some really cool tours of the country. So just really think about what interests you. Would you like to maybe be stretched at a startup company, or maybe you like to see something for a change at like a research position at university? So definitely just try to think about the different ways in which positions may be able to impact your career. Okay, so I've hinted on this quite a bit during this presentation. I'll just quickly say again, when you're in country, one of the greatest things about the IAESTE program is there is support the entire time. So if you have any problems, you can contact the national office of that country. There is also more than likely a local committee embedded within the community in which you're in. So that would be student volunteers who are there to answer any questions you may have. Let's say you have an internship that requires a work authorization or fingerprinting once you get in country. These people may actually walk you to the services and places to get these things done. They'll make sure that you are in good hands and taken care of. And then finally, we're always here if you have any serious issues or complaints or problems. We have had instances in the past where maybe the student needs to get in contact with us for an emergency situation. You can also always do such, and we will be sure to be there for you as well. Okay, so let's say you already have a position and you just need assistance with the visa authorization. IAESTE can help you with that as well. So there is a $350 fee associated with that. With that fee, you still receive assistance with visa or work authorization, access to pre-departure material, and in-country support. Sometimes there may be an additional fee for like the housing services if you want them to find the housing for you. But if that's the case, you will be notified of that upfront as well. And these are just a couple of quick quotes from some previous interns that we had. This is an intern that actually interned with us, and she stated that IAESTE, it makes you more independent. Learning a completely different business culture than your own trains you to be more understanding and flexible. Be brave and embrace the unknown. And here you see a couple more quotes. The bottom one says, the working cultural experiences I gained through an IAESTE internship could not have been more incredible. Okay, and as I mentioned, I did want to kind of highlight a couple of other cultural business programs. So you'll see a Russian program, which is called the Alpha Fellowship Program, CBYX, which is a program that we have administered for quite some time that works with the German Bundestag. And then finally, internships abroad. So there's just a number of our other programs. There are, of course, more out there. So if you're interested in something else, definitely take a look at our website, the Cultural Business website. Okay, and with that, I will open the floor for questions. I would also encourage you to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We're kind of relaunching the Facebook page now to try to include things like these webinar materials so that you can stay up to date with kind of the changes that are going on with video to back that up. Okay, and thank you for attending. If you have any questions, please, I will answer those now. Yes, I see a couple in the chat. Yes, so the insurance fee would only be for the time in which you are abroad. One thing that I would note though, let's say that your internship starts May 24th and it ends July 30th. If you were to go a couple days before the 24th, you would need to be insured the entire time. And sometimes students like to stay like 2 weeks after to do like traveling, you need to be insured that time as well. So we will ask that you include all those dates so that you are within the visa requirements, because they will ask for your insurance documents at your visa appointment.
Keenan, I have a few questions too. First of all, with those remote positions, Are the applications fees exactly the same? Because in that case,
No, they're not the same. I'm sorry, I did not mention that. So the application fee for those is $500. It's quite a bit less.
just straight $500. Okay.
$500, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and the thing about, again, with those, it's not paid. We try to make sure that the student is not working over a certain amount of hours because you're not being compensated, and we want to make sure that you're being treated properly with labor laws.
Right.
And so we do have some virtual programming that is set up around the remote positions to try to provide some type of opportunity to meet other interns that are doing remote positions, and also to have some cultural experiences as well.
Great. And I don't know, I think I might have remembered this incorrectly, but how many jobs can one apply for? Was it 5 total, or was it just?
So it's not 5. When we get to the ones that are restricted to the to like US applicants only, we'll do 3. But for the purposes of like these global offers, it's just 2, because it's really difficult to track when students are selecting like 5 positions.
Okay. But that's over the course of, like maybe the first wave, and then they don't get it.
Yeah, you're not capped. I'm sorry. Let me clarify. It's not, so you can apply for as many until you get accepted. You can only apply for 2 or 3 at a time, however.
At a time, okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. At a time, because it's really hard to track that over a while. But we definitely encourage for people to continue to go through the cycles, and we will continue to help you. We've had some students that have gone through for almost 2 years and before being placed. So we will work with you. And so Zoe had a question, one of the first positions released for application. There are positions you can apply for today if you were to go on the EP. So many countries are finding that employers want to get away from the AC model, and they want to just have positions shared any time of the year. And so those positions are actually online, and you can tell whether they fit kind of your timeline in which you're willing to work. Some of them may not. Some of them may be for maybe earlier in the spring or like mid-spring. But there'll definitely be some. The ones that will be shared for US specific positions, those will not be available until late January.
Okay, and then you can't see the positions until you're verified, correct? Or am I looking at the wrong?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
That's true.
And you also mentioned applications can be rejected. How often do you see that happening once the person's been nominated? Is over the years that you've done this so far, do you have a very good chance once you're nominated? Like, what are the chances?
Yeah, you have a really good chance once you've been nominated. We have like maybe one country that we have a really hard time getting students in place in, and that's Switzerland. I'll just be transparent. So I typically try to warn students, like, you may not want to apply there because it's just really difficult. I've seen maybe 1 or 2 students be accepted, but it's just really difficult. But by and large, committees are really helpful. So let's say I nominate a student for a position in Poland and they are not accepted, or even Switzerland, to be honest. Usually the committee will say, the company didn't find them appropriate for this position, but I have this other position. Are they interested in this one? So a lot of times committees will try, because they want to get American talent in there, to try to see if they can counter and provide us another opportunity as well. We see that quite a bit every year. I think you're on mute.
I have a question. So what type of support does IAESTE offer, or Cultural Vistas offer, when students are on site? Specifically, if they're running into issues related to COVID-19, or they just need assistance navigating some of the requirements that might come down. And like, let's say they have to quarantine upon arrival because that was like a brand new thing. Do you help them navigate that with their employer? Or if for some reason they test positive, like the day they're about to leave and they have to stay longer and they don't have housing any longer, like what kind of those types of issues, or how would IAESTE be supporting them?
Yeah, so those are things that local committees or national committees of the host country are really equipped to handle. So I'd say the first thing that we do is within the insurance that we offer, there's a special feature called Talkspace, which is really good. We found during periods like such as COVID-19, where you may need a therapist to talk to because of isolation. Local committees will also, and the national committee will also provide the student prior to arrival with any information you need to know about COVID. And the committee will also work as kind of a negotiator between the student and the host company as it relates to COVID-19. So if they need to quarantine, they'll work that out with the employer or make sure the employer understands that process as well. And if there is an emergency on the back end as well, we can definitely talk to national committees and they work with us in trying to make sure the students continue to be looked out for. We haven't had any COVID-19 issues, but that could all change because I feel like a lot of the travel was really upended last year, the past 2 years, so it didn't really happen. It could happen now more because we're actually seeing more travel, so that's something to actually keep a lookout on. And in our committees, again, as I mentioned, we'll be ready to step in if that comes up.
I guess one last question. You mentioned about sort of the deadline of the internship and how you guys need at least a number of days beforehand. What would be, I mean, so for instance, if I'm advising students to apply or they see something, what should I tell them? That you need to have the application form by 2 weeks, send it in 2 weeks in advance, 1 week in advance, because these are ongoing deadlines, right? So
right. These are ongoing deadlines. It's really difficult to really put a number on it. I would just say if you can get it in at least 5 days before is a good number to put it at. Because the problem is once it gets lower than that, sometimes you lose days trying to get in contact with an applicant. But 5 days really has to be the last date in which you can submit it, because after that you just lose time and you could make a rush decision. And so one thing that I would really mention also for students is to really make sure that you kind of have the documents up to date. As I stressed earlier, if you're not looking to apply until spring, I would wait until spring to request all those documents so that you have the up-to-date transcript that shows your spring courses and that has your proof of enrollment as well, as you will be asked to provide that for all nominations. This is just a quick question for Rob and Diane. Are either of your universities, do you require the students to do an internship to graduate? Are they required?
it really depends on the program that they're in, I think.
Okay.
So,
okay.
and
places
are pressured, I think, as well, of course. But I don't know whether they're required per se, but
okay.
definitely
Okay.
something they need on their resume.
So there's at least one. Go ahead.
I was just going to say in engineering, it's not required.
Okay. There's only one country that requires it, that has a requirement for non-EU students. They must have it as a requirement in order to participate, and I believe it's a visa requirement. But by and large, you're fine as long you're fine. The only thing to restrict applicants usually is, of course, as I mentioned, you have to be at least a second semester sophomore. Some of the positions do state that you must be enrolled in throughout the entire duration of the internship. So that means when you applied, you were a student, and when you finish the internship, you're still a student, which means recent graduates cannot apply for those positions. If that is the case, you will see that on the offer. It will be listed on the offer. So there will be some which are restricted, and that is usually, again, related to the visa requirements. All right. Any more questions? Okay. All right, great. So I would definitely encourage you to take a look at our website, United States, IAESTE United States website, as well as IAESTE ASBL website. It really provides you with kind of some more background in terms of what IAESTE looks like, different member countries, so you can kind of get a grasp of how large the organization is and different things you could take part in. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to email me. I will make sure to upload this recording to our Facebook page so that you can view it or share it with other prospective students or friends who may be interested in applying as well. And yeah, again, our new deadline to apply is December 17th. You must be registered and have the invoice paid by that date. All right. Thank you for joining, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks, Keenan.